Another car crash TV interview for a senior Labour politician, Lisa Nandy. I think this is the third video we've done today on Lisa Nandy. She's been very busy going around doing the media rounds. This time, Andrew Neil destroyed Lisa Nandy by grilling her on live TV. I'm not really the biggest fan of Andrew Neil these days, especially since he moved to Channel 4. But when it comes to these sort of interviews, he's still an expert. Let's go to this because it's about the economic debate and economic growth overall. Also, to clarify, I'm not the biggest fan of the current Tory cabinet, and there's been a lot of chaos over the last 13, 14 years of this government, but the overall progress of the country has already been there, economic growth and prosperity until now because of the recent chaos. But Lisa Nandy tries to spin the message, but Andrew Neil is an expert.
In your critique, how bad the growth has been after 13 years of Tory rule. Now, compared to the other members of the G7, how bad has it been?
Well, we're currently languishing at the bottom of the
G7 that's the latest figures. I'm talking about 13 years. The fact is, Lisa Nandy, only Canada and America have grown faster than Britain in the past 13 years.
Not only that, the recent figures that Lisa Nandy was referring to, also that was an unfortunate moment to pause the video. Her face is, I don't know what's going on there. It was on a projection. It was a prediction of, for example, the IMF and those guys saying what could happen next year. Every single projection that these guys have had, even the OBR, it's always been, they've been very, very cautious. So they are saying that potentially next year, this coming year, the UK will be slower than the other countries. But the real numbers will be actually higher than the other countries. Despite the chaos of this government, the economic growth has still been in place.
Of the G7, only two more.
Well, you can throw figures at me, and I guess I could throw figures back. Well,
these are not my figures. These are World Bank figures.
But I think that the real question that most people will be asking themselves right now is, for all of the talk about avoiding technical recessions from the Chancellor and all of the triumphalism we saw in the budget last week from Tory MPs, the question most people will be asking is, do you feel better off when you walk down your high street?
Right.
Is the local economy working?
It's not about the feeling. The Labour Party have been using this rhetoric for the past few decades, and it usually works, especially election times, because they go to people and manipulate their emotions, saying, regardless of how actually it is on the ground and in your pocket, how does it feel? Do you feel poorer? And this is the problem. If they focus on actual poverty and actual hardship at times, then they could actually address it. When people don't have money in their pockets, they don't really care. But when things have been relatively okay before, not now, then they still go around and say, but how do you feel? And people say, well, yeah, I feel that I'm not rich. Well, yeah, they're not rich. I feel that I live in Gaza with no housing. That's the problem.
Get home from work after a long shift, do you have enough money to put food on the table and pay your energy costs? Okay. Do things feel fundamentally better in any aspect of your life?
Not about feeling. If they don't have the money, then they don't have the money, and you as government, all of you, Labour and Tory, all the other nutters, you have to address it. If things are okay, when things are okay, the Labour Party continues to use this rhetoric, which is very, very dangerous and unhealthy for our democracy, because they continue to manipulate the public even when the country was relatively okay. In the 90s, despite all the flaws of John Major and his government on very obvious policies, when he left office, we had an excess budget and the prosperity was up and everything else, but they still managed to get the public to feel that, yeah, so things are bad, right? That you're poor and you don't have a job and everything else. And they thought, well, Tony Blair will be our savior. Then Tony Blair came and spent all their money, and they ran out of money. And now they're going to do the exact same thing. Not that the Tories are better, well, perfect, but at least it's not on this level. Anyway, we are where we are with this nonsense. I think this could be the last Lisa Nandy video of the day. Yeah, I promise. Hopefully I'll promise, unless something comes up. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.